Howdy, this is Lemmy with RevZilla TV, here to talk to you today about XKursion Luggage by Kuryakyn. You should be looking into some XKursion luggage if you need somewhere to put some stuff when you're riding around your motorcycle. These things are currently being made for all sorts of bikes. They're going to be reasonably universal in fit, but there's a couple pieces that are a little bit more specific. We'll get to that in just a moment. Installation on these is going to be a one bearder on our BSD, our beard scale of difficulty. There's nothing actually difficult here, and most of you shouldn't need any type of tools at all, but it does take a little bit of fiddling around to find the best way to actually mount this stuff up to your bike. Let's get right to it, shall we? The XKursion line of luggage by Kuryakyn is a new offering from them, and the first thing everybody should know walking into it is exactly how to break down the nomenclature of these things. So every single bag you're going to see is going to have a two-letter designation followed by a number designation. So you're going to have XS, XR, and XW bags. This part's really important. The XS bag, like you can see over here, is a seat or sissy bar bag. This thing is made to hang from a sissy bar either one direction or the other, either on the passenger seat or hanging off sitting on your rear fender. Moving down the line, you see we have an XR. This is a roll bag. Roll bags are designed to sit on the top box of those bikes equipped with tour packs or top boxes. Goldwing, Electric Glide guys, I'm looking at you. The other thing you've got down the end here is an XW. XW bags are roller bags, not to be confused with roll bags. Roller bags are big, huge main pieces of luggage. These, again, are going to be designed to be hanging off of a sissy bar of some form or flavor. You should be familiar at least with the letter designation of these bags. Now when it comes to the number, I'm accustomed usually to the number being somehow related to the cubic feet of storage. That's not the case with XKursion stuff. Just because you order a particular number doesn't mean that a number that's larger than it is necessarily larger. It may be smaller or larger. So what I would recommend most of you guys do is figure out exactly what you want to pack and then determine if the internal pocketing system on these is going to be decent for you. Everything along their line is going to have a bigger main pocket and then some smaller stuff broken down. So it really does depend on what you want to pack with respect to what's going to be the best fit for you and for your luggage. So let's talk about a few features that are common to all of the XKursion line. So I've got this roller bag in front of me here, the XR 1.0, and we can see a couple features on here that are going to be consistent across the entire XKursion line. First thing you see here is this cool like thermoformed handle. This thing is awesome. It's going to keep this thing from cutting into your hand if you have to wind up moving your stuff around a little bit. 1200D Max Dura fabric on here. This stuff is rough and tough, made to go the long haul, UV and weather resistant. What does that mean? You're not going to get that weird brown look that you see with a lot of other luggage that can be a little bit cheaper, and you're also going to be reasonably protective from the elements. If you're in a full-on downpour, you're going to need to actually cover this stuff up. But for the most part, if you zip through a light mist, this stuff is going to help keep your stuff dry, aided so by, as you can see here, the sealed zippers. This is, again, going to keep stuff dry, going to keep the zippers from being an ingress point for water. Other things you're going to notice with this stuff, you can see these tie-down rings they include in here. These are non-marring. These are not metal. They're not going to scratch up stuff nearly as much as a metal-style hook was. It's a nice little touch. I really do like they do this on this particular bag. You can also see here too, this reflective material. Believe it or not, this stuff is actually reflective. I know it just looks like black trim, and instead of having that dorky, like gray, super shiny stuff that seems to reflect all the time, this stuff is very muted, blends in well with the bag. It doesn't give you that crazy, you know, I'm trying to be Safety Sam look. Kind of is a nice touch. On the larger bags, you're going to notice too, rubber footies on the bottom of these puppies. These are going to help keep that Max Dura fabric from getting torn up on the bottom when you set this thing down to jump into your hotel room or when you take it off your bike and store it in the garage. This is going to prolong the life of your investment. So some other stuff that's common to all the bags. You can see these zippers up here. They're rubberized around a nice large zipper. These are going to be glove friendly. So if you have a set of gloves on, you're not going to have to remove them just to get inside your bag real quick. Now opening this thing up, there's going to be a larger cover, and you can see here all of these bags, common throughout the line, you're going to have a large main compartment and then outer storage for smaller stuff. And then once you're inside the main compartment, you'll notice this bag is nicely finished, but there's all sorts of other little pockets and areas here to store smaller items. So when you're selecting a bag, your best bet, again, like I said, is maybe have a rough list sketched out in your head of what it is that you want to bring with you, and then determine which bag, interior-wise, is going to work best with the stuff you're bringing. Obviously, the stuff we bring with us has all different sizes attached to it, so whether or not you're going to need something with a huge main compartment or maybe some smaller compartments is going to be dependent on what it is that you're bringing along. Now, when it comes to installation on these puppies, I had said that these things are reasonably universal, but there are some specifics you're going to have to think about. So if you want to run a roll bag, pretty obviously you're going to need a top box. Again, I mentioned you guys on Electroglides and you folks on Goldwings. You're going to be the main consumer for something like this. One of the things to keep in mind is if you have a top box, you want to have a rack for your top box too. If you don't have a rack on there, if you put this puppy directly on the paint, odds are very good you're going to wind up damaging it because they intend this thing to be hooked down to a rack on top of a top box. So if your top box doesn't have one, think about putting one on there. Now, those of you who are thinking about either a roller bag or perhaps a seat sissy bar bag, you should know that you're going to need a sissy bar. These things are designed to run either setting on your passenger seat lashed to the sissy bar, or if you're going two up, flip it around and run the thing hanging off your back fender. If you don't have a sissy bar, it's going to be dang near impossible to install one of these. So a sissy bar kind of is a prerequisite for running one of these. Now, when it comes to installation, I mentioned these are a one bearder on our BSD, our beard scale of difficulty, and they are. It's pretty easy to install this stuff. Most of you shouldn't need any tools at all. However, it is a bit time consuming in order to figure out the best way to lash this thing down to your particular rig. So when we get into things like the installation, I was kind of intrigued when I opened ours up and checked out the directions. One of the first things I saw in there were these Velcro straps. And Velcro straps didn't make me feel really good until I read the directions. And then I realized the Velcro straps have absolutely nothing to do with bearing the load. Kuryakyn includes these so you can set these things up on your sissy bar, you can get this thing in place and use these Velcro straps to hold the bag roughly where you want it. Because it'll be roughly held in place, you can then use the more secure attachment methods to actually permanently pop this thing into place. Now, they had some really cool stuff there. They have these clasp style rings, and then they also include two chromed compression style straps. There's a multitude of ways to get these things locked down to your bike. If you take a peek at our Dyna here, you can see I have all sorts of stuff holding this thing down, and really this was just one way to do it. There's a lot of ways to skin this cat. If you spend a little quality time with your Kuryakyn stuff, making sure you get the best possible attachment, you won't have to worry about this stuff when you're ripping down the road. One of the other things I thought was great too as far as throw-ins is that Kuryakyn includes some other stuff. There were some bungee cords. Believe it or not, they know that you're going to be overpacking and you're going to be throwing all sorts of stuff everywhere. So they include bungee cords so you can use, again, those loops to bungee stuff to the bag itself. So even once you have your bag locked in place, they know that you might have to throw something else in there, a bedroll, maybe a small dry bag, and they include bungee straps for you to help lock down. Now, one of the other things they threw in I thought was super important. Luggage like this is really cool, but it's, as I said, it's weather resistant, not weatherproof. Until, however, use the included bag. They actually have a cover for these things that will fit over your bags. I really like these because they're nicely made. They're super duper heavy. And if you look at this thing, they have a nice drawstring at the bottom so you can fit it over your bag and then snug it down really well. It's going to help make sure your things are all dry. And they did take this seriously too. If you look inside here, they even sealed the seams here like you're going to see on your better outdoor and camping equipment. And Kuryakyn did a pretty good job with this stuff. I really do like the XKursion line of luggage. While stylistically it might not be exactly my thing, this is definitely solidly made stuff that's going to serve a number of you for years and years. My opinion is not the only game in town though. Click below, check out what some folks who are already rocking XKursion on their bike have to say about it. If you've got a question I didn't get to, get in touch with one of our gear geeks. See us at RevZilla.com. You can always get one by horn, 877-792-9455. I'm Lemmy, I'm out of here.